All right, so you're prepping for that civil service administrative officer interview, huh? Well, get ready for a deep dive because that's what we're doing today.
That's right, and we're going to be looking at two guides from RoleCatcher that you sent us, the career and interview guides.
So think of this as your personalized pre-interview coaching session. We're going to break down the whole thing.
Yeah, we'll go over exactly what the role is, what the interviewers are looking for, and the best ways to show off your skills.
Oh, and of course we'll be talking about all the AI tools that RoleCatcher offers to give you that extra edge.
Definitely.
First, though, let's get a good picture of what this role actually is. So the RoleCatcher Guide defines a civil service administrative officer as someone who basically keeps the wheels turning in government departments. But it's not just like basic admin duties.
Right.
We're talking records management, public inquiries, even potentially supporting those big shot politicians. A lot of responsibility there for sure.
Absolutely, yeah. And it's something you'll definitely want to highlight in your interview, that variety of tasks. I mean, think about it. You're not just filing papers. You're making sure the information is transparent, maybe even archiving documents that could be, like, historically significant.
Wow. Yeah, that's a great point.
Yeah, and that really shows how even small tasks can contribute to the bigger goals of the department as a whole.
Okay, so let's get into the nitty-gritty of these interview questions. RoleCatcher gives us 10 examples in their interview guide, and we're going to go through each one by one. And remember, it's not about memorizing the perfect answers.
Yeah, it's more than that.
It's more about understanding what the question is really getting at and how to use that to give the interviewers what they want to hear.
Exactly, yeah. And being able to adjust your answers to fit the specific situation.
All right, so question number 1. What inspired you to apply for this role? Pretty simple, right?
Seems that way.
But the guide points out that they're not just looking for someone who needs a job,
Yeah, they want to see genuine interest, not just desperation.
Exactly. You got to prove that you've done your homework.
For sure. So don't just say, I'm passionate about public service and call it a day,
Yeah, I've heard that one too many times.
Like, actually connect your skills and experience back to the responsibilities of the role.
So if you had a previous role that involved a lot of record keeping.
Exactly. You can talk about how that sparked your interest in making sure information is accurate, in a government setting.
Oh, and be ready for follow-up questions too. Like they might ask, what is it about our department specifically that appeals to you? So you'll need to show that you've actually researched their work and how it fits in with your own values.
Exactly, yeah. Like maybe their community outreach aligns with your volunteer work, stuff like that.
All right, question number 2. It's, what are the key responsibilities of a civil service administrative officer? So obviously avoid just reading off the job description here.
Yeah, for sure. Think big picture.
So how would you approach that then?
Well, instead of just listing off tasks, you can try connecting them to the department's overall goals.
Okay, so rather than just saying answering phones.
Exactly, yeah. You could say something like ensuring effective communication with the public and stakeholders.
I like that.
To maintain transparency and accessibility.
And that really shows you're thinking about the bigger picture,
Exactly.
And I bet they'd follow up with something like, which responsibility are you most excited about tackling and why?
Oh, yeah, definitely. So make sure you have a specific answer prepared, one that links your skills to the task, and really shows genuine enthusiasm.
Because that enthusiasm can really make a difference. It shows that you're not just going through the motions.
Exactly. It shows that you actually want to be there, that you want to do the work.
Okay, question 3. How would you prioritize your workload? Classic, yeah. So it's time to show off those organizational skills, but again, don't just say, I'm a multitasker. We've all heard that before.
Oh, yeah, a million times.
So what should you do instead?
Well, you could, explain the process you actually use. Do you use the Eisenhower matrix or something? Or maybe you prioritize based on deadlines and the impact of each task.
Yeah, I actually use a bullet journal. It's old school, but it works for me.
There you go. So personalize it. The guide mentions using calendars and to-do lists, but everyone does that. Do you color code your tasks or use some fancy project management software?
Oh yeah, Asana is my go-to.
Perfect. See? Share those specifics.
Yeah, really dive into that workflow.
And then they might ask something like, tell me about a time you had to juggle multiple priorities with a tight deadline. What did you do?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, so this is where having a real-world example is key.
So did you ever have to coordinate a last-minute event.
Exactly. So highlight how you did it and what the outcome was.
Because stories are much more memorable, right? They can really see you in action.
Exactly. It makes your skills tangible, relatable.
Okay, question number 4. It's a tough one. It's, how would you handle a difficult or demanding supervisor? This is all about how you deal with challenging dynamics, in a professional way.
Yeah, and without complaining about your boss.
Exactly, it's a trap.
Right. So instead, focus on communication and professionalism. The guide suggests something like, I would always try to understand their expectations and communicate effectively, and if there were any challenges, I would address them respectfully and try to find solutions.
Yeah, that's a good start, but let's take it a step further.
Sure.
What strategies do you use to handle different personality types? Like, do you adapt your communication style based on who you're talking to?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Maybe you focus on building rapport,
Yeah.
like finding common ground.
Yeah, that's good. Those details show that you really put thought into your interpersonal skills.
They might also ask, can you share an experience where you had to adapt your communication style to successfully collaborate with a difficult colleague? So have a specific example ready to go.
Oh, for sure.
All right, question number 5. How would you handle being asked to do something unethical or against policy?
Oof, that's a big one.
Yeah, big one. So this is about, your integrity, your understanding of policies, and whether you're willing to speak up.
Right.
What does the guide say?
Well, the guide suggests politely declining and explaining that it goes against policy.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it's a good start, but what if the pressure is coming from someone really high up, Like you might need to say something like, if this keeps happening, I'll have to escalate it to the appropriate authority to make sure we're complying with ethical standards.
Right, because that shows you're not afraid to follow procedures.
Exactly.
And I bet they'd follow up with something like, can you recall an ethical dilemma you faced at work and how you resolved it? So again, have a specific scenario ready to go, something that really highlights your critical thinking skills and shows that you can act with integrity even under pressure.
Especially under pressure.
All right, question number 6. It's, how would you handle a situation where a coworker wasn't meeting their performance expectations?
Ah, tricky.
Yeah, so this is about showing leadership and tact.
Right, it's easy to just say you'd talk to them, but that doesn't really say much.
Yeah, how would you actually approach it?
Well, think about it more as collaboration rather than confrontation.
Okay.
The guide mentions offering support and involving a supervisor if you need to, but you can go deeper than that,
Like what?
Well, like, would you use the sandwich method where you start and end with positive feedback?
Yeah, I've heard of that.
Or maybe you'd offer to help them with specific tasks or share some helpful resources with them.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, so show that you're a team player who wants everyone to succeed.
Okay, so they might also ask, what's your preferred method for giving feedback and why? So be ready to explain your approach and how it helps create a positive work environment.
Yeah, because this shows that you understand effective communication and that you want to build strong working relationships.
For sure. So important in any job, really.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
All right, question number 7 is all about discretion. What experience do you have working with confidential information? So think about any relevant roles you've had and the kind of protocols you've followed.
Yeah, the guide gives an example like, in my previous role, I handled confidential employee records and financial data, adhering to strict protocols. Which is good, but we can make it even better.
Okay, how so?
Well, like, did you have to go through any specific training on data privacy?
Oh, yeah, good point.
You can mention that. Or did you sign any confidentiality agreements?
Yeah, those are good too.
Yeah, so really highlight how committed you are to protecting sensitive information.
And then they might ask something like, given the sensitive nature of information in the civil service, how would you ensure confidentiality in this role?
Oh, yeah, that's a tough one.
So you'll need to tailor your response to the specific context of government work.
Exactly, yeah, showing that you understand the unique requirements there and what could happen if that information is mishandled, that's going to make you stand out.
For sure.
Okay, question 8. It's, what experience do you have managing budgets or financial records? So even if you haven't managed, like, huge budgets,
Right.
you can still highlight any relevant experience you have, like even just tracking expenses or processing invoices.
Yeah, that counts.
the guide mentions software like Excel.
Yeah, everyone uses Excel.
Exactly. But think about what those experiences taught you about financial responsibility and attention to detail,
Okay, they're like,
Like maybe you implemented a whole new system for tracking expenses, or maybe you caught a discrepancy that saved the company money.
oh, nice.
Yeah, see, those kinds of details make your skills come alive.
Yeah, they can really see how your experience translates into actual results.
And they might ask, describe a time you had to analyze financial data and make a recommendation based on your findings. So be ready with a good example.
Yeah, specific situations are so important for these kinds of questions.
Definitely. And remember, even small examples can show that you're competent and able to think critically.
Okay, question 9. It's kind of similar to the difficult supervisor one, but with a focus on, like, constructive dissent. How would you handle disagreeing with your supervisor's decision?
Yeah, that's a delicate one.
So how do you balance respecting authority while still expressing your concerns?
Right. Well, the guide suggests explaining your reasoning clearly and offering alternative solutions.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, it's a good starting point. But what if you can't reach an agreement? You might have to say something like, if we can't come to a consensus, I would respect my supervisor's final decision while making sure my perspective was heard.
So you're showing that you can advocate for yourself, but you also understand the chain of command.
Exactly.
And I bet they'll follow up with, tell me about a time you disagreed with a decision and how you handled it. Again, concrete examples are key here.
Oh, for sure. And choose an example where you disagreed respectfully, focused on the best outcome for everyone, and, where you learned something from the experience.
Yeah, always got to show that growth mindset.
All right, last question. This one's a real brain teaser. How would you handle a colleague underperforming, but their supervisor isn't addressing it?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a tough spot to be in.
Yeah, it is. So you've got to balance supporting your colleague with your responsibility to the team as a whole.
What does the guide suggest?
Well, it says to address it with the colleague directly first and then escalate it if nothing changes.
Okay, makes sense.
But we can go deeper than that.
So how would you approach the colleague?
Well, think about what kind of specific support you could offer, like maybe pairing up with them on a task or sharing some resources that could help them out.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then when you do escalate it, make sure to focus on how it's impacting the team, not just complaining about your colleague or their supervisor.
So rather than saying something like, colleague's name isn't pulling their weight, you could say something like,
Yeah.
I've noticed colleague's name is having some trouble with task, and it's impacting our team's ability to meet deadlines. I've offered some support, but I wanted to bring it to your attention.
Yeah, that's perfect because it shows you're trying to be proactive and find solutions.
And, of course, they might ask, what if your efforts to address the situation were met with resistance? So this is really testing your problem-solving skills and your resilience.
Definitely. So you've got to show them that you're not going to give up easily.
Like, what could you say?
Well, you could say something like, I would continue to document the situation and explore other ways to support my colleague and the team, and maybe even involve HR if necessary.
Right. So you're showing that you're committed to finding a solution no matter what.
Exactly. You're committed to finding the best outcome for everyone involved.
Okay, we've done it. We've tackled all 10 questions. Feeling more prepared.
Definitely, yeah.
But before we move on, let's talk a bit about how RoleCatcher can help you go beyond these general strategies, with their AI tools.
Oh, yeah. That's the fun stuff.
I know, right? So you've used their platform before, haven't you?
Yeah, a few times.
What do you think of it?
I think it's great. It's really helpful. Like the AI can actually analyze the job description and your application materials.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah, and then it gives you suggestions on how to improve them, specifically tailored to the civil service.
So it's like having an expert editor on your side.
Exactly.
You mentioned their video practice with AI feedback, too.
Oh, yeah, that's my favorite part.
Really?
Yeah, it's super cool. So you basically record yourself answering practice questions.
Well, that's a great idea.
Yeah, and then the AI analyzes like everything, your delivery, your word choice, even your body language.
Really? Even body language?
Yeah, and then it gives you feedback on how to improve, all geared towards the civil service environment.
So it's not just generic feedback, it's actually specific to how civil service interviewers assess candidates.
Exactly.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's like a secret weapon.
Okay, so let's shift gears a bit now and look at some of the career insights from the RoleCatcher Career Guide.
All right.
So understanding the potential trajectory of this role can really help you inform your interview answers.
Definitely. Yeah.
So the guide outlines like 4 career stages, starting with administrative assistant and going all the way up to principal administrative officer.
Right.
So where do you see yourself in, say, 5 or 10 years?
That's a good question.
Are you looking for a long-term career in the civil service, or is this a stepping stone to something else?
Either way, understanding those career stages can really help you explain your goals and how this role fits into your overall plan.
Exactly.
So, for example, if you're aiming for a leadership position down the line, you might want to highlight your experience in mentoring colleagues or taking initiative on projects.
That's a good point. Now, the guide also mentions some potential downsides to this role.
Right, every job has them.
Yeah. So it's important to acknowledge them, but do it in a way that shows you've really thought about the role and what it entails.
Exactly. Show them you're not naive.
So, for example, they mentioned the potential for job monotony.
Ah, the dreaded monotony.
Yeah, but instead of shying away from it, you can actually embrace it.
How do you mean?
Well, you could say something like, while I understand that routine tasks are important, I'm also eager to learn and grow. I'm a quick learner, and I'm always looking for ways to contribute beyond my immediate responsibilities.
Yeah, so you're showing that you're not afraid of hard work,
Exactly.
but you also have ambition and a growth mindset.
And you can even tie it back to those career stages we talked about.
Oh, good idea.
You could say something like, I see this role as a foundation for a long-term career in the civil service, and I'm excited to explore all the opportunities for growth and development along the way.
Perfect.
The guide also mentions the bureaucratic environment as a potential downside.
Oh, yeah.
How can a candidate address that without sounding negative?
Well, acknowledge it, but frame it positively. Like you could say, I understand that government departments can be more structured, but I see this as a chance to learn established processes and contribute to a system that benefits the public.
Yeah, so you're not just complaining about bureaucracy, you're actually seeing the value in it.
Exactly.
And you can even highlight how well you can thrive in those environments.
Yeah, like maybe you've worked in a large organization before, or you're really good at following procedures and maintaining order.
Those are all great points.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so the guide also mentions slow decision-making processes.
Yeah, that's a classic.
How can a candidate talk about that without sounding impatient?
Well, focus on your patience and your attention to detail. You could say something like, I understand that government decisions often involve multiple stakeholders and require careful consideration. I'm patient and detail-oriented, and I appreciate the importance of thoroughness in ensuring that decisions are made in the best interests of the public.
So basically, you're turning a potential weakness into a strength.
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it.
And you can connect it back to your own work style.
Right. So if you enjoy doing research and analysis, you can definitely mention that.
For sure.
Okay, so let's not forget about all the amazing benefits that come with this role. The guide highlights stability, job security, and a competitive salary. How can a candidate bring those up without sounding like they're just in it for the perks?
Yeah, that's a good question. So you want to connect those benefits to your deeper motivations,
Okay.
Instead of just saying, I want job security, you could say something like, I'm looking for a role that offers long-term stability so I can focus on developing my skills and contributing to the department's success.
So it's a subtle difference, but it really shows that you're not just looking for an easy ride.
Exactly. You're looking for a place to build a meaningful career.
And when talking about salary, frame it in terms of value and recognition.
Right. Like you could say, I believe my skills and experience warrant a competitive salary that reflects the importance of this role in supporting the department's mission.
The guide also mentions the benefits package. How can a candidate talk about that without sounding like they're only focused on the perks?
Well, you can mention them in a way that shows you're thinking about your long-term well-being and work-life balance. You could say something like, I'm also attracted to the comprehensive benefits package, which shows a commitment to employee well-being and allows me to focus on my work knowing that my health and financial security are taken care of.
I like that. It shows that you value a supportive work environment.
Exactly. And it reinforces the idea that you're looking for a long-term fit, not just a quick job.
Now, the guide also emphasizes the opportunities to contribute to public service and the positive impact on society. How can a candidate express their passion for this stuff without sounding cheesy or insincere?
Well, authenticity is key. Share a personal story or anecdote that illustrates your dedication to public service. Maybe you volunteered for a cause you believe in, or you have a personal connection to the work the department does.
Yeah, that's a good way to make it personal and relatable. It shows you're not just saying what you think they want to hear.
Exactly. And the civil service is all about serving the public good. So aligning your values with that mission can really help you connect with the interviewers.
For sure.
All right, one last thing before we wrap up. The guide lists a few alternative titles for the Civil Service Administrative Officer role, like archiving documentation related to work or ensuring information transparency. How can candidates utilize these?
Oh, yeah, I noticed that.
Well, those alternative titles are a goldmine. First of all, they can really broaden your job search.
How so?
Well, instead of just searching for Civil Service Administrative Officer, you can try those alternative phrases.
You're not kidding.
You might find some hidden gems, jobs that perfectly align with your interests.
Like a secret code for the job market.
Exactly. And they can also be super helpful during the interview itself.
Okay, how?
Well, using them in your responses shows a deeper understanding of what the role entails. So instead of just saying, I'm good at managing records, you could say, I'm passionate about ensuring information transparency and have a proven track record of effectively archiving documentation.
That sounds much more impressive.
Exactly. So don't underestimate the power of those alternative titles. They can be a secret weapon in your job search and your interview prep.
All right, I think we've covered just about everything, from breaking down those tricky interview questions to exploring the entire career landscape. We've given you the tools and knowledge you need to ace that Civil Service Administrative Officer interview.
Hopefully.
But before we finish up this deep dive,
Yeah, we want to leave you with one final thought-provoking question to think about.
so this question really gets to the heart of, what makes someone truly great at this job?
Yeah, it's about more than just skills and how well you can answer interview questions.
Right, it goes deeper than that.
It's a question they might not actually ask you, but how you answer it will show up in everything you do and say during that interview.
All right, so what's the question?
The question is, beyond skills, what personal qualities would make you stand out as a Civil Service Administrative Officer?
Ooh, that's good.
So think about what really motivates you. You know what makes up your work ethic. What makes you a good teammate?
So, is it integrity, dedication to public service, really good communication skills, being able to stay calm under pressure?
Exactly. So think about all those things. How do those qualities fit with what the role requires?
Because the answer isn't something you're going to find in a book.
No, it comes from you.
It's about knowing your strengths,
Yeah, and what makes you not just qualified, but the perfect fit for this role.
And don't forget, RoleCatcher has got your back through all of this.
Oh, yeah.
They've got tons of resources like those in-depth guides we talked about and all the AI tools.
Yeah, they can help you polish up your application and practice until you feel totally ready.
And the best part is, signing up is free.
Totally free.
So go check out RoleCatcher, make a free account, and explore everything they have to offer. With the right prep and the right tools, you can absolutely nail that interview.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And start a really awesome career in the civil service.
We know you can do it. Best of luck.